ain't kissing boys that I don't like. Hanging out with folks that drink all night. Think my anxiety is gonna kill me. Don't you dare leave me alone. Sit and think about what went wrong. Just give me one more night, that'll thrill me. There ain't nothing left to do or say. Wouldn't matter anyway. Say you're having the time of your life, baby, so am I.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here with Marty Music, hanging out in Nashville with an amazing artist, songwriter, singer, Kat Hasty. Thanks for coming by. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. So I recorded my first album. I recorded it in an apartment, and it was on a laptop and Logic and whatever microphone we could find. And
How long ago was that you
That was
actually
back
recorded it?
in 2020.
Oh,
So that
okay.
was 4 years ago, and I've been working on music since then, but I haven't released much just because I'm kind of trying to find my sound, and I've been really particular about what I wanted, and it's kind of just been this whole learning lesson about how I want my music to sound and stuff, you know, because
Yeah.
it was so raw and bare that I really loved that. And then I got into more full production, and I was like, whoa, this isn't me. And then I dialed it back to nothing, and I was like, but I want more than this. So it's kind of been a lot of
Well,
experimenting.
it's not even been 4 years, so it's a lifelong journey. So
Yeah. I moved away from my family when I was like 19, 20, and I haven't lived around them in the last 5-6 years.
So that was in Texas.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And I moved back recently to West Texas, and I've written a couple songs about my family. And surprisingly, you know, most of my songs are love songs, and that's what people really like. They have absolutely loved the ones about my family. About my
That's
family
awesome.
being, you know, kind of crazy and re-experiencing your family as an adult. When I was a kid, like during your childhood, I feel like this is a universal experience. You think that your childhood is normal. You feel like you don't know anything else until you get out into the real world and you grow up and you're like, oh shit, like
Oh, yeah.
that's actually maybe more normal. And it kind of, so I went out into the world, you know, after I turned 18, and I wasn't around my family as much, and I started touring in a band, so I got very personal with lots of people from different walks of life. And I kind of realized, oh my gosh, maybe my parents are a little crazy, a little crazier than I thought, you know? I wrote a song about, you know, going back there and realizing my parents might be a little crazy, but they're still just good folks doing the best that they could, you know, like we all are.
Absolutely.
And it's called The Best We Can.
Mama's always yelling, daddy's always telling the TV to go to hell. My brother's out of touch, he don't get out much, and the other one just paying the bills. The thing about me is I'm clinically insane. I got a baby on my hip and the same last name, and we're all just doing the best we can. They've been through hell, so you know I can't blame them. Lord knows that I ain't never gonna change them. Ain't no place, no dream of mine, no heaven on earth where the sun always shines. We're all just doing the best we can. Put tires down, don't move.
Should we add a clap
Glory.
track? That would make me feel a little better than silence.
Well, well, I could. I mean, you know, I take notes from guests, so we could get a big speaker in here and have a little soundboard. You know, laughter. You'll like this one better.
All right. Yeah. That's how I feel when it's quiet after a song. I'm like, come on.
Are those like vintage boots?
No,
or-
I wish they were. This is Miranda Lambert's brand, Outerwind.
Okay.
Yeah, I love her brand. It's really cool. I really love her brand. It's really cool.
Miranda.
No, I'd say honestly, out of everybody that's like influenced me the longest over time and just had a career that I really followed, would be Miranda Lambert. I mean, all of her albums are just pristine. They're amazing. You can live in them.
Who was your musical hero when you learned some chords and wanted to sing?
People always tell me when they talk about, you know, any guitarist I know is always like, oh, when I heard Stevie Ray Vaughan or I heard Marcus King or I heard whoever, it just sparked this thing in me and I had this huge epiphany and I wanted to be a guitar player. You know, I really never had that as much as a musical hero. I feel like I was very influenced by individual songs from people. And it was like, when I heard a song that I just thought was really wonderful, I would listen to it like 100 times, listen to it a million times. But most of those songs came from Miranda Lambert, Taylor Swift. I listened to a lot of Post Malone. Like, I just
Post Malone,
like
the Texan?
Yeah,
he
he's from
is,
Dallas,
right?
or he's from Grapevine. But for someone that's so adamant about like songwriting, I'm very adamant about, you know, it should be meaningful, and I write from my deepest experiences, and I want my songs to be connecting. I do not listen to really any music like that. I listen to just music that feels good and has a lot of bass, and I really write songs like almost every single day. I feel like I think kind of like in the mode of a songwriter, like almost every epiphany that strikes me, I kind of put it to a rhyme and I just write it down in my notes, like,
Cool.
you know? So I'm kind of constantly writing songs. A lot of my songs, I feel like I go through like chapters of my life. It's like a month, and it's kind of the theme of the whole month. And then when I kind of get a song idea, I'm like, okay, this is how I can put this all into a song. I'll go back to my notes and it'll have all these little lines that kind of fit in, because that was just kind of what I was going through at that point.
Nice.
You know? This next song I wrote, like I said, I am from out there in West Texas, and I grew up out pretty much in the desert. My dad was oil field for 40 years. You know, people are just kind of rowdy out in West Texas.
Oh.
Very, very rowdy people. About 3 hours further southwest from me is the third most remote place in the United States, out in Terlingua, Big Bend area. So we're pretty in the middle of nowhere. You know, I feel like that shaped me, that shaped a lot of my music, just growing up in the oil field business. Okay. And that's what this song is about.
I grew up in the back of a 92 Ford. Daddy had cars on loan since the day I was born. A poor man sure got poor man ways. That piece of trash turned out to be all the rage. I never got much love, but I learned how to live. I ain't afraid to swing a hammer like my daddy did. Always buy cheap and I always drive fast. I never swing first, but I'll always swing last. So if I'm mean, I get it from my mama. If I'm green, I'll just call my old man. Got these strings and a little marijuana. Eyes raised on the border of the northern Chihuahua. It's a hard living, but they did it. I'm still learning how to fit in with the folks around here, sitting talking about the business, cause this ain't the business we're in. Whoa, 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 this ain't the business we're in.
Do you love the band era more than music now?
No, there's really no bands anymore. And then any like modern act from the last couple of years, if they have a band name, it's typically one person, and then they have hired musicians, which I kind of understand how it got to that, because it's really hard to, you know, have a 5-way marriage with a bunch of artists. You know, it's pretty much impossible.
What artists do you listen to today?
Actually, if it's like pop music, I like the 1975.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Which, you know, it has nothing to do with like
What do you like about it?
guitar jamming or whatever. Great, just great pop music with great melodies. The production is kind of 80s throwback sometimes. And so I like that because I grew up in the 80s. So I like that they're like doing a newer like twist with some of those tones. Because the 1975 has guitar parts.
Yeah.
So I can like appreciate the song.
And they're cool, they're unique, they're different. I mean, they're a band too, right?
They are, yes.
Like, you know, that makes such a difference, because I think a big part of what's made it really hard for me to make music I really loved in the last couple years is I would write a song and then people would come in and they'd play it basically to a chart. You know how it works when you have studio musicians. And it just always felt so generic. It just felt like, I don't know, there's nothing interesting about this. This isn't really what I imagined this to be like. And it wasn't until I started touring with a band and they all wrote their own very specific parts, then I was like, oh wow, like this is unique. This is interesting. This is a part of every single one of us has been put into this music, and you can't like replicate that, you know? And so, yeah, when you take bands out of music, everything just starts blending together because it's basically just charted.
When it comes to studio musicians, it ends up being a lot of the same guys, and they're amazing musicians, but the main role is to get it done quick and, you know, fast. Get in there, come up with 5 or 6 different creative parts. Oh, I like that one. Boom, get out. As opposed to like, tell me your story. Let me, you know, like internalize what the song's about and channel it. It's just there's not enough time. Cat Hasty, do you remember the first thing you ever learned on guitar? Like the first song or riff or something like that?
I do remember the first song I ever learned, and actually when I first learned it, the first 10 songs I ever wrote, I wrote to this exact same chord progression. And I remember that I was playing it. This is how I used to play guitar. Okay, you ready?
Yep. Absolutely.
Just like that. I couldn't move my hands any faster. Because I actually didn't learn to play guitar until I was like 19 or 20.
Okay.
I always had one, but I would actually write my songs. I would play a little karaoke song to whatever song was popular at the time, and then I would just sing over the karaoke tracks. You asked me earlier who, like, my musical hero, if Miranda Lambert, but also when I was young, my dad was really into classic rock. That was like all I grew up around.
Mine too, yeah.
Yeah, and Bob Dylan was the one that really stuck out to me. I listened to a lot of Bob Dylan.
So you have an Instagram, TikTok,
Yes.
because, you know, you're part of the younger generation.
Yes, I have all the things.
The choice of the new generation, Cat Hasty. Anyway, check out Cat's stuff, her social media, TikTok, Instagram, etc. We got links below, and follow young talent. You know, let's help nurture this next generation of artists. You know, they need our support. So please support Cat Hasty, and thanks for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having
Really
me.
appreciate it.
Had a great time.
Yeah, it was fun. All right, well, thanks again, and we'll see you guys later.
Knocking on heaven's door.